the same way, virtue, so he says, an action according to virtue means living I should say instead of living, that's like to acting out of my soul. I love that. Maybe it's just because I'm a boy. Acting out of my soul. And then I'm going to add to that, most of the time, with ease, with pleasure. Now those three characteristics I'm not making up. It's actually Aristotle later on in the same book. And he's like, okay, but what does it mean to be virtuous? He says that you do it with ease, you do it most of the time, and you find it pleasant. A virtuous man will find it more pleasant to not laugh at his companion. A virtuous man will find it more pleasant to not indulge in snarkiness. And he'll actually find it like he'll actually be like, everyone around him is like, let's go watch, Tommy Boy. And the virtuous man will be like, that movie disgusts me, and I simply don't want to watch it. The unvirtuous will be like, this is so awesome. Ganja. Let's all smoke ganja. And the virtuous man is like, no. And he'll be able to do it with ease. There's actually 4 degrees that you have. You have the vicious, comes from the word vice. The incontinent, the continent, and the virtuous. These 3 mark the virtuous. So, most of the time, people can slip up. But when he does, he feels pain. He's like, yeah, I saw Tommy Boy and I laughed. It was terrible. With ease. He's not up there going like, oh, I really, really want to watch Netflix. It's 1 a.m. I really want to watch Rocky 2. Oh, God, it's Lent and I gave it up. Oh. No, he's like, I'm not doing that. That's stupid. And with pleasure. Oh, I just love being me. That's the virtuous person. This is the way we want to live. That's awesome. I'm like, I do what's right. I do it almost every time. It's easy, and I love doing it. Continent person does the right, so we should say, doing what is right. The continent person does it some of the time with difficulty and with some pain. The incontinent does it rarely, with great difficulty and with pain. So an incontinent person would be like, you're like, hey, give up chocolate for Lent. And they're just like, and then that one dinner's over. Like, oh, I did it, dude. That one dinner. Was it easy? No, it was hard. How do you feel? Terrible. I wish I would have eaten it. The whole time all I could think about was eating it. But did you do it? Yes. And the next time, they're going to eat the chocolate. Oh. Vicious, you do it never. You do it with, not with difficulty, but you basically just don't do it. And you do the evil with pleasure. A vicious person is a dog. They're the beautiful. They're the course, they're to be evangelized. I'm not talking as a Christian here. I'm talking as a philosopher. When you meet a vicious person, they're the wife beaters. And with wife beaters, you basically can throw them in prison. The answer to a vicious person is throw them in prison. Separate them, because they will do nothing but destroy you. They enjoy doing evil. And they are out there doing that.
The virtuous person kind of sounds like Beaver to Beaver.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that's what our culture has done to that person.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't want to be that nerd. I'll be the con, because that's like...
But it's, and then your superheroes used to be this.
Yeah.
And now they've become this or this.
Mm-hmm.
Or they even switch this dark side or the light side. It's ridiculous. An example of a virtuous person, I'll tell you of a virtuous person that I met. A general. I think I told you the story. Did I tell you about General Boone in France? He was a 5-star general in France. So it means like he was like the president's right hand. And he was actually a general in the Vietnam War, Indochina, he told me, which is Vietnam. And the French pulled out. They betrayed the Vietnamese people. The Americans stepped in and tried to save the French once again. But he was the general that was in charge there. And I remember I was at his house for dinner, and like, when you're in the presence of a general, it's an awesome thing. Like, you really feel all of the fact that, like, when you have authority or responsibility, it makes you grow up so beautifully. And a general who's had that most awesome of responsibilities is someone, if he's really become a general, well, he has learned virtue. And when I was in his presence, I remember being so filled with awe. And I asked him, I said, well, you're a Catholic, you go to daily mass? And he said, yes. And then I said to him, well, how do you reconcile with that, with the fact that you had to kill people? Because, I mean, you're in the army, it's a profession of killing. And he looked at me, and I'll never forget it, because it was just so awesome. And he said, every bullet that was fired by any one of my troops was fired by me.
So full responsibility.
Full responsibility.
But that's right.
Now you look at that, there's nothing Beaver to Beaver about it. He was just able to say, I did what was right, and I've learned to do it over and over and over again. And it's now who I am. Like, every bullet that was fired by anyone that was pulled by me, I own my life. That was an example I remember forget. I'm like, whoa. Because you want to be like that. You know, you're like, most of us are this kind of vanishing smoke kind of a person. Oh, I didn't mean to say that. Giggle, giggle, giggle. I retract that. Giggle, giggle, giggle. You know, you're like, who are you? You know, well, I didn't mean. I don't know what I think. What do you think? It's like when you meet someone who's actually solid, and they actually, what they're doing is they're living out of soul. And when they live out of soul, they're awesome. You think of women, 2 of them I met, they're virtuous. And you just like, I'm thinking of when I go to people's houses, I use this example a lot about hospitality because it's something I experience. When you're with someone who actually wants to hostess you, it is so marvelous. Maybe I'm just sensitive to it. That's like maybe a love language or something weird. But it's really cool when someone actually is engaging you in conversation intentionally and intelligently. That's really neat. That's so uplifting. And you end up but when you see someone doing that on purpose, and they're actually enjoying it, and they've made something for you, and the bed is correctly made, and they've thought through the things, and they think that you're tired, so they let you go, and they do it all with this kind of decorum and polish. I've done this in the South, the Southern hospitality. Man, it's true. And when it's done, you're just like, wow, like you are a neat person. Because what's happened is that there's been more than just the body, the stomach, the laughter, the gregariety. There's actually like, I don't know how to put it, like that person gave themselves to you. That's virtue. So, to wrap this up, the goal of morality, ethics, to do what is right. We are, most of us, between incontinent and continent. None of you guys are vicious. But it's a sliding scale that's constant depending on your choice. And you go from continent towards incontinent. You keep drinking, you know, you come home from work, You keep doing it, it's harder and harder, then comes Lent, oh, it's harder and harder year after year, and eventually, you're down here, and if you just keep going, so you have to always fight to push yourself up on that scale. And you do that by acting out of your soul. Living a life that's intentional, that's intelligent, aware, loving. Cool?
Cool.
We had a neat class. It's been like,